Welcome back. This is part 2 of Town Hall with our special guest today, Mr. Steve Unruh. We're going to take a couple, really just one, user-submitted question, public comment from our friend Paul. His question is, Durham Public School graduation rates have gradually increased from 2006 to 2016. What policies helped this yearly net increase, and what can we do more? I think that's a fabulous question. I will say that I graduated in 2008. I don't know how much that helped. I think it's a pretty significant amount. Just me being in the system during that time really inflates the numbers there. So maybe outside of that, what do you guys think is the reason for the increase in graduation rates?
My memory is we kind of dragged you across the line, but that...
Well, I didn't really want to leave. I enjoyed your class so much. I really was not keen on graduating, but they forced me out the door. So.
Yes. So I actually want to go back farther than 2006. I started teaching in 1986, and back then, graduation rate was 50%, 60%. There were a lot of students that did not graduate. It was common for kids to drop out at 14 or 15. Lots of kids left school at 16. Teaching then at Northern High School, you could graduate with just an Algebra 1 as your math. So the standards were lower, the expectations were lower. People like to say schools have gotten worse. I'm just going to tell you, not true. The schools are so much better than they were when I started teaching 30 years ago. In the last 10 years, last decade really, that question is talking about, what we've seen is an effort to address the students. So we got to like 70, 75% of our students, which are the students that kind of come with family support. They're going to do the right thing. As long as we provide a good education, they're going to graduate. The 25% that are left are students that have challenges. In Durham, we have lots of students who are immigrants. We have lots of students coming from very poor backgrounds. Those students need more support, and so we've been putting more support in place. We've got counselors that are helping to place students in the right classes. Our English as a second language program is dramatically expanded, which is helping the immigrant students navigate the system and get through successfully. We have alternative classes online that help a significant number of students for whom getting that last 2 or 3 classes has been a challenge. So we've put a lot of resources in place to try to get us from the 75% we were, so that we're now approaching 84, 85%, which is really a tremendous achievement.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of talk about investing in the lower and middle class. That comes up all the time in sort of a national political conversation. And on a much smaller level, we've essentially done that with our education. We've decided that we're going to invest in the people that need it the most, versus looking at everyone equally and saying, oh, okay, we all have equal opportunity. We know for a fact that that's not true, and people come with different come from different backgrounds with different needs, and Durham has addressed that. And I'm certainly proud of the fact that we do have so many immigrant families here. I think that really makes Durham special, and so we want to continue to have that to be a sanctuary for our immigrant community to come get the education they need, be able to continue to build a life here. So it's really encouraging to hear that.
Justin, when you went to school, it was never a doubt in your mind that you were going to get through, and you were going to do well, and you were going to achieve, and you were going to...
It's very nice of you to say that, Steve.
Well, I'm sure that is true. Well, okay, it wasn't a doubt in my mind that you had a doubt in your mind, or that you didn't have a doubt in your mind. So, why was that? What was it that made it so that you had the confidence in yourself and the... what was it around you? Was it your family? Was it, what was it that because one of the things that a lot of kids don't come with that.
Sure.
They don't have that necessarily, that expectation that they will achieve, that they will get through, that they will do well, they'll move on to the next thing. So, what is it that made that for you?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Unruh mentioned some of the things. Family support, sort of neighborhood and community support were sort of the first step there. As you all know, I was fortunate to grow up in a pretty nice neighborhood where not only my family provided that for me, but all the families that I encountered really set me on the right path to be able to achieve at that level. One thing, and this isn't specific to Riverside, but I always felt like our teachers were very just exemplary in that they invested in us, but also gave us opportunities to make mistakes and grow and
Gave you lots of opportunities.
and we took full advantage. We made lots of mistakes, and I think that's important to give. We're trying to create problem solvers. We're not just pushing students through the system and having them memorize as much information as possible, especially in this day and age where all that information is at our fingertips. We need students that are critical thinkers and problem solvers, and I think that's really what over time, starting with Warren Harris Elementary School, where I began, through Brogdon Middle School, where we won the soccer championship my 8th grade year, thanks to this gentleman here, and at Riverside, those things were available. That ability to think critically and make mistakes and think about learning in a dynamic way really carried into my adult life, especially where I am now. So I think that's
It's great
really
that
important.
you feel like you got that from your teachers. Because I think that is so important, and it's wonderful to hear that you felt like your Durham Public School teachers gave you that.
And even ones that I never had as teachers myself, I'd see them in the hallway and they would stop and speak to me, and I felt comfortable talking to them and asking them questions or asking them for support. And so that environment is really important for a kid, especially a kid that is not as fortunate, does not come from maybe as a supportive home life, to have that in their school, to where they feel like that can be a haven for them to be who they are and to grow as a person, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And I'll say that I think one of the things that public schools do fabulously well is supporting students to be who they are. That the advantage that a public school has over a private school, over most charter schools, is that everybody's there. And so you are going to be able to find your place. You're going to be able to find some students who are like you, and you're going to be around students that are different from you. And you're going to learn how to navigate that environment in a way that you just can't simulate in a different setting.
And I'm glad you said that, because it's something that I thought about and wanted to ask both of you guys. Along those lines, do you think that our school system is, clearly you think it's doing a really good job, but maybe what can we do more within the system to provide students with the resources and the tools they need to be adults in the age that we live in now, whether that's the jobs that are available, the global diverse community that we live in. We talked about how Durham is a very immigrant-rich community. Do you feel like students are able to take full advantage of the resources that they have, or do we need more to be able to meet the demands of the 21st century?
Well, I'll say one thing I think is important that worries me. And that is, because our teachers aren't well compensated enough, the state of North Carolina is woefully lacking in terms of teacher pay. And we supplement it. locally, which is fantastic and critically important. But because that's true, we have a lot of teacher turnover, and we are not able to retain a lot of teachers over a long period of time. So a veteran teacher, when you had Mr. Unruh, he'd probably been teaching 25 years. You learn a lot in 25 years, and you get a lot of wisdom. You get a lot of skills in your profession. You get a lot of ability to kind of work with kids who are, maybe misbehaving. I mean, there's all kinds of things. We're at a point now, and Steve, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but approximately half of our teachers have been teaching for less than 5 years in Durham. And so when you have that situation, that sort of inexperience, and that means a lot of transition in and out, and means a lot of instability in the school each year as you're getting new teachers coming in. And so I think our ability to pay teachers well and provide really good working conditions for them is what's going to do. It's what's going to make what you described that you want to make happen. I think that's one of the key things that we need to do to help make that happen. So, what are your thoughts, Steve?
Well, you nailed it. It all starts with teachers in the classroom, and we have to find ways to keep good teachers in the classroom. One of the ways that we do that is to get good principals and assistant principals. And remarkably, we're even worse in our pay for principals and assistant principals than we are for teachers. And so the challenge of having a stable leadership team is as great as the challenge of keeping our teacher in the schools. And so we have to find some ways as a school board to address keeping good principals, good assistant principals, and then expecting them to do the work that they can do around working conditions to try to keep teachers in our schools. So yes, we can talk about computers, we can talk about buildings, we can talk about lots of things, but really, in the end, it comes down to teachers in classrooms and doing what we need to do to have good teachers in the classrooms.
Well, I think this may be it for us today. Again, education is an incredibly broad topic. We could talk about this for hours at a time. And we'd love to continue the conversation. So if you have questions, you can find us at Clarion Content. That's on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. You can always submit questions to clarioncontent@gmail.com. We love getting feedback from the community about these topics. This is an open dialogue that we want to have as a community, not just the people in front of the camera here. So please continue to submit your questions. Mr. Unruh, it's a pleasure, as always,
very
to
much.
see
Thank you, Mr. Unruh.
Thanks so much for
Thanks
the invitation. Great to see you,
Great to
Justin.
have our
Always
first special
great to
guest
see you,
on Town Hall.
Yeah,
Never
you're
had a
right.
special guest before.
I'm honored to be here.
Thanks again. We'll see you next time.